must not be broken. It's time to do the Pet Sematary spoiler review. Let's do this. What's up, guys? We are gonna do a spoiler review for the Pet Sematary remake. If you haven't seen this movie, I definitely would not watch this. If you want to watch my other review, then I'll put a card right here so you guys can watch that. But this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, if I'm being honest. I'm such a big fan of the Pet Sematary universe. There's not really a universe, it's one movie, but I'm such a big fan of the original movie. And one thing, after putting out my review and I saw most of the comments, most people didn't really like this movie. I think most people kind of aligned with me on this, but you're always going to have those that go the opposite direction. Hell, I go the opposite direction a lot of the times. But, I think it falls into two categories for the most part. There are outliers, but I think if you're not a fan of the original, then you're more than likely going to like this remake. And I think if you love the original, then you're gonna have problems with the remake. That's what I saw for the most part from you guys. Like I said, there are outliers, but I kind of wanted to dig a little deeper, and mostly what we're gonna be talking about is that final act with Ellie, because really that's where the story takes a shift, and it could have been amazing, I think. But there were some major problems before we even got to that scene. So we're gonna get into all that. One thing I didn't really talk about that much was Pascal. And I guess it's one of those things where I just literally forgot to talk about him because he didn't really make a mark. He didn't really, stick out. The original Pascal from the original movie was one of the best parts of the movie. He stuck his head out all the time saying, hey, don't go there. Don't go and bury Gage. Don't go and bury your wife. He was so, vocal and projecting and everything. And, he was a presence. In this version of the movie, he was a lot more subdued. It was more of a muted version of what we got in the original movie. And I think that's why nobody really talks about Pascal. Even from people that love this movie, I didn't really hear him saying that much about Pascal. He didn't really make a mark in this movie. And I think he should have, because that's such a great character, So you really want to make that count. And I don't really think they made it count at all. And, before I jump into the major spoiler stuff, one thing that, I'll reiterate is that I think the big thing was throughout this movie, all of the scenes were pretty much the same blueprint, the first 2/3 anyway, up until the death of Ellie. It was kind of the same blueprint as the first movie, but a lesser version. I think if you took any particular scene, for me anyway, I constantly was saying, I wish they would have done it like the original, because the original did it much better. I'm fine with different, but if you're gonna give me different, give me at least as interesting or better. And I got the opposite of that with this movie. And guys, I really wanted to love this movie like you guys, like some of you guys did love it. I really wanted to love this movie so much. It was, in my top 2 of the year that I really anticipated seeing. I'm a massive fan of the directors of this movie, with the work that they did with Starry Eyes. I went through all that in the original review. So just, if you didn't watch that review and you're just watching this review, know that I wanted to love this movie so much. I really did. I think, even looks-wise, from the trailer, I thought, at least cinematically, it looks beautiful. It looks like a great horror movie, at least how a horror movie should look, especially in the night scenes in the woods. But then when I watched the whole movie, I noticed that, like in the original, there was a lot more variety in the colors, in the way scenes were lit. Even in the night scenes, there was a lot more variety. In this one, everything just seemed kind of muted and dark. There were some scenes that were really nice looking. Sometimes they would have like this fog effect going, and that worked. They'd pump up the blues, and that would be really cool. But overall, I still liked the variety of the look of the film in the original movie. Now, I guess we'll start with what happened with Ellie. You know, it was kind of a nice bait and switch, and I did get some questions on social media like, if you went into this movie not knowing that twist, would you have liked it more? Do you think you would have liked it more? Because I constantly would harp on that when I found out about this twist, and I went out and I tried to warn everybody and save as many people as I could. And ultimately, a little bit. You know, I think it would have been nice to be surprised. Like, some people were literally saying to me, like, why does it matter? It's such a small little change. No, that's a huge change. You know, it completely changes the whole dynamic of the third act. To go from this little almost infant child, you know, he's a little toddler. There's only so much a toddler can do. To this fully functioning, you know, she's almost in her teen years. So there's a lot more you can play with that. So for people to say that that's not a significant change, what planet are you living on? So that could have made this movie amazing, really. Just because of the relationship between Ellie and her father, Lewis. They even highlighted it in the trailer. You know, how Lewis was talking to Ellie about death. And, you know, what, you know, because Lewis was an atheist. And I think his wife was not an atheist. And so Ellie had all these questions about death and where she's going to go and all this stuff. And in this one, they didn't really harp on the death of Church as much as they did in the first one. Now, putting it right out there, I really enjoyed the actress that played Ellie in this movie more than the first movie. That was the one thing about this movie I did enjoy more by Jete Lawrence. I think she wasn't amazing or anything. I just think the first Ellie was annoying. And you know, so she wasn't good. Whereas this one, I like I said, I liked her performance, especially before she died. After she died, that's when I had problems because I don't think they knew how to handle how a dead person would act. You know, it reminded me of like The Crow when Brandon Lee in his last interview, he was talking about, you know, how do you handle playing a dead person? You know, it's easy to play a dead person if you're a zombie, but a dead person that can actually talk and interact with you, are they going to be angry? Are they going to be comedic? I mean, what are they going to do? And I think taking on that role is easier said than done. And I think that's what Jete Lawrence was facing. I think she was kind of monotone throughout the whole thing because I really don't think they knew what to do with the characters much. Or if they did, if this was the direction they wanted to go with her, it felt a little bit too forced, you know? Because she was creepy in some moments, but her delivery wasn't there yet, you know? And I think actors, they have to work through that stuff and figure out what the end result is on a character. You know, take Heath Ledger in The Joker. Heath Ledger freaking locked himself in a hotel room for a month to figure out what he was going to do with the Joker. You know, they can't really put a little kid in a freaking hotel room for a month. That's just an example, but I'm just saying, I think her performance could have been a lot more effective, and if it was more effective, then damn, she could have been great. It could have been a great final act, and it would have saved the movie for me. But unfortunately, it came across as, you know, acting. I want to believe that the person that I'm looking at on the screen is real. And it just looked like somebody trying to just act. To act creepy. Acting creepy and being creepy are two different things. But when she does walk up to her father, you know, I was surprised by that because I didn't really know what she was going to do. At least they didn't show that in the trailer, you know. But she literally started having a conversation with her father. You know, goes in the living room, starts dancing. And she really came across as just like an angsty teen. You know, there are literally young people that act like this. You know, they don't go as far as killing people, but that's pretty much what she came across as, just an angry, spoiled brat. But then where it really takes a shift is when she kills her mother, and then she drags her mother out and buries her. You know, this was different than the original movie where Lewis actually buried his wife. But no, she actually buries her mother, and then the father tries to kill Ellie. And then, you know, you got the mother comes back out of after she's been buried, she comes back out of the ground. And then, of course, it was kind of a cliche ending, if I'm really, you know, I mean, there's been endings like this in the past where somebody's about to kill somebody and then all of a sudden we see a spike go through the back and through the front of their chest. It's been done before. It's an ending, I guess it works, but it doesn't even compare to the ending of the original. The ending of the original is great because you have Lewis. he's pretty much at his wit's end. He is just gone, and he's sitting on the floor after burying his wife. You know, he's pretty much just given up. And then his wife comes in, and it's one of my favorite endings, actually, as far as horror movies go, because it just ends on a crescendo. It ends on the perfect note with her, you know, kissing her husband and then bringing the knife around and ultimately killing her husband. And, you know, it's just such a tragic ending. And like I said, it just ends on, you know, a crescendo. Whereas this ending felt kind of stock and cliche. The only thing I did like about the ending was the fact that you had this whole family of people coming back from the dead, and then so the only one that's left is Gage. I did like that. If everything that led up to that would have been as effective as that, then it could have been a hell of a last act. You know, I think the performances is what kind of killed it. Really, overall, the performances killed this whole movie. You know, I got into a lot of discussions on social media about the performances in this movie because some people said they didn't like the acting in the original. I think Dale Midkiff, his performance is 10 times better than what Jason Clarke did. Jason Clarke's a decent actor, but I just don't think he was right for this role, or I don't know, but I think Dale Midkiff's performance, it just made me feel so much more. Whereas I didn't get that with Jason Clarke. I didn't at all. Really, all the actors in this movie kind of felt, you know, like one note. Ellie was probably my favorite performance in this movie, actually. I do like that they went a different direction. If they didn't go a different direction and they did a By the Numbers remake, then this movie would have been a complete crap fest. But ultimately, there were things about that last act I did like. So I ended up giving it just, you know, like a straight up humdrum, 3 out of 5. But, you know, overall, guys, that's pretty much all I can say about this, you know, in a spoiler review for Pet Sematary. There's not much more left to say. And it's sad because it's a movie that I will give another chance. I will watch it again. You know, the damage is done. I already know what's there. There's, you know, somebody even like mentioned on like social media, when Lee watches it a second time, he's gonna like it more. Not at all, actually, because usually those times when I do like a movie more the second time, there's a spark in that first viewing that stays with me after I watch it. Terrifier is a great example. When I first saw Terrifier, I gave it a bad rating. And then, for some reason, there was still something there lingering in my brain, like, I did like that. For some reason, that stayed with me, you know, whatever I'm talking about the movie. And then, all of a sudden, it just wouldn't leave my head, so I end up watching it again, and I end up enjoying it more. This one doesn't have that. It doesn't have that one thing about the movie that just stays with me, and I'm, like, dying to watch it again. Sure, I'll watch it again because I'm a horror fan, and I love Pet Sematary. But, yeah, it's just... There's no way that I'm gonna enjoy this movie that much more, you know. I mean, it could get like 3.5 out of 5, I doubt it. But I'm rambling here. Anyway, guys, again, post your thoughts in the comments on this movie. Did you watch it a second time? If you did watch it a second time, I'd like to know if you liked it more or you liked it less. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.